Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Batman Ninja Turtles. Somehow displaced in Gotham City and having been soundly bested in battle by Batman, the Turtles are trying to track down the Foot Clan, who have all the components they need to complete an interdimensional portal home. However, as their bodies adjust to the DC Universe, Splinter and his sons are doomed to revert to their natural states. So they find their way into the Batcave, home of the one person that might help them. Issue 3's cover sees the Foot Clan's ruthless leader staring outward, with his armor reflecting the impending attack of Bats and the Turtles. And, like I said, with the first two issues being sort of a progression of one another, this seems to be the next logical step. If the first issue had a cover that had them waiting to attack, and the second was the group heading out for a mission, the third could be seen as them finding and closing in on their target. I don't know if it was intentional, this is just my interpretation, but it's very nicely done nevertheless. Shredder gazes out at Gotham from the balcony of the Iceberg Lounge, told by Penguin that while the city might black out, there is enough power at the ready to activate the technology that can send the Foot Clan home. Shredder tells one of his ninja to fetch their abducted scientist, Dr. Khan, as he's apparently grown fond of Gotham and plans to fetch more of his men to rule it alongside his own New York City. Threatening Penguin into agreeability, he orders the casino remade into a proper base. So, what, new curtains? Well, 2 Foot attempt to retrieve the sleep-deprived scientist, who bemoans the Shredder's ever-changing plans, since if the portal remains open, reality could destabilize and result in massive loss of life. Wait, I just reviewed a comic that dealt with something like this. Okay, so Jason Todd will show up in the Turtles universe, Pigeon Pete will show up in the DC universe, they'll be killed in situations they were never originally involved in, and everything will be fixed. And frankly, I'd mourn Pigeon Pete more. For like 5 whole seconds. One smoke bomb and a couple hits later, Batman appears, taking the ninja out and telling Naveen that there's a boat waiting for him, with someone trustworthy to help. The Doc says Bats can't do this alone, which sounds presumptuous, but the Dark Knight is anything but alone. As the Shredder is waiting for Khan to activate the portal, the Foot are attacked. Oswald says it's the Bat, Shredder says it's the Turtles, but it turns out it's all of the above, joyfully declared by Leonardo as a totally awesome team-up on a 2-page spread. Something which would make more sense coming from Michelangelo if you ask me, but whatever. And by the credits in the corner, I'd wager it's also the issue's subtitle. How did we get to this moment, you ask? Well, let's jump back a couple hours, where at Wayne Manor, Bruce is observing a hollow map of Gotham in search of the Turtles. The bodies of the mercenaries from last issue, as well as 9 other men, were found at the docks, and he surmises the Foot have the final piece of equipment they need. It also doesn't help the city's secondary grid is having its power funneled to Penguin's casino. Before heading to the cave, Alfred is alerted on his Bat smartwatch that there's already someone inside. And according to the computer, it's saying they're riding the dinosaur. Is that new teen slang for drugs? No, it's actually just Michelangelo having the time of his life on one of the most famous trophies in the cave. It's a fun scene, especially when Splinter tells him to knock it off, while Donnie seems to already be in love with the Bat computer. Yeah, makes more sense than the Batmobile. However, this does kind of imply that Donatello has familiarized himself to some degree with the cave's systems. And we all know Batman is sure to be happy about that. Raph is less amused as he walks alongside Leonardo, feeling that despite the glitz and glamour of the Bat's assets, he's just a lunatic that doesn't understand the Turtles' sense of family. And even though Leo tries defending Batman to a degree, it doesn't stop the Dark Knight from tossing both Terrapins against his cars. As the others rally to the leader and the hothead, Donnie explains to Bats that he has a handy gadget that allowed him to circumvent the cave's defenses in a specific location, but is intimidated on holding back on any further constructive criticism. Bats demands answers, but Splinter sees through his tactic, already having some information as it is, and trying to coax them into revealing even more. He acknowledges his identity as Bruce Wayne, since even an old rat can track a dude in a flying mouse costume. So he makes some formal introductions before explaining that the villain Krang, enemy to both the Shredder and Turtles, had dastardly plans for Earth that required the two factions out of his brain scalp and teleported all of them to Gotham, though Shredder's plan is to use the portal tech to his advantage and strand the mutants to become their base animal forms. And lose ourselves forever.
Or until we reincarnate again. Yeah, that's our stick this time.
Alfred arrives with activated security and a shotgun, though for some reason Michelangelo thinks he's a robot. Not sure why, but Batman asks his butler to stand down. Thinking the portal will be activated tonight, he intends to send the mutants back home, though Raph is still far from impressed. We return to the present, fight already in progress, as Batman tells Leo that they can't just knock down the Foot, they need to apprehend Shredder. Yes, sir! Sir? Really? Shut up, Raph. They call out Saki, saying he's essentially lost, but he counters that argument with a trigger to a detonator that destroys the portal. And, as reported by Alfred, Dr. Khan's head.
Khan! Seriously, though, the trustworthy man at the boat to welcome the Doc and get him to safety was Alfred? Not even disguised? That's just freaking lazy, but also not atypical of a lot of Bat books since the New 52. A lot of really odd scenes where Batman's identity is either in ridiculous risk of being revealed to some random character or, for lazy shock value, is already known. But no, instead of calling any of his allies, he gets the well-known butler to Bruce Wayne.
Shredhead had expected more from so feared a figure as the Dark Knight, and taunts the suddenly appearing Splinter with his impending demutancy. Raph angrily launches himself at the Warlord, but receives a gash to the shoulder that nicks an artery, meaning he needs immediate medical attention, so chasing the escaping villain is out of the question. Though now they still need to find a way home.
If only Batman had well-established connections to people able to open portals through some other means. Like, I don't know, magic or something. Too bad he doesn't know anyone like that, huh?
Shredder climbs his way to the escape chopper, planning to rebuild from his losses and accept there's no returning to New York. However, an off-panel voice informs him whomever he thought would be in the aircraft is dead, and the interdimensional traveler has caught the interest of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, this kind of came out of left field. I mean, given that this version of the Shredder is a warrior brought back to life after being dead for centuries, it's kind of an interesting parallel to someone like Ra's, who takes resuscitating soaks in magic science springs to keep it going. But will that vague similarity prove beneficial to the story?
Remember that progression I talked about with the first 3 covers? Well, that comes to a screeching halt as we see Saki and the Foot surround Batman and Raphael, who are in a familiar alley looking at a ghost or hologram of a small child crying next to a lifeless hand. And what's that in the background? A theater marquee.
Is this an indication we might get a recounting of the Wayne murders? Because I can't think of anything that's done that in recent memory. Not movies, not TV, not comics, absolutely nothing. Okay, let's just get this over with.
We open in Arkham Asylum, where Dr. Zahir is talking to a man whose name seems to be I am of the Foot. Getting nowhere, she has him put into Hannibal Lecter cosplay and kept from the 20 others of the same clan, upset at Gordon for sending them to the nut house.
So, Gordon sent not technically insane people, who are just not answering questions, to a facility for the criminally insane. And that's the entire explanation. Not what Jim's reasoning was, just that he sent them there.
The Doctor passes the cell of the Joker, who taunts her knowing something fun is going on and wants to be let out to join. She tells an orderly to double his meds immediately, which I'm sure is not only the first time someone suggested that, but is going to work just dandy this time. At Wayne Manor, Alfred is bragging to a delivery boy that 6 months in a fancy London restaurant makes him more than qualified to handle a dozen boxes of pizza, which certain green house guests preferred over the butler's offer of a feast. Not sure why they couldn't just meet in the middle and just have Alfred make a bunch of pizzas, but whatever. A peculiar rattling sound turns out to be Michelangelo, skating down the banister and right into Pennyworth.
We'll be right back to Turtles Gone Batty right after these words from our sponsors.
In the cave, Batman is sparring with Leonardo, while Splinter tells his son that the costume is designed for intimidation, but is worn by a man. But I like it too.
Yeah, because he's never faced a guy with an intimidating suit before, or super strong mutated creatures for that matter. Seriously, why would any of the Turtles find Batman's appearance intimidating at this point in the story?
Then the criticism of footwork comes up, and Bat mistakenly thinks the rat is talking to Leo. And even as a Batman fan, I'm okay with this. The character's been deified so much in the comics lately, it's nice to see an even friendly training match go some way other than his. Donnie is replaying holo recordings of previous missions, showing the Turtles have been fairly active in Gotham during their stay with Bats, even facing some of his rogues, which has apparently been several days at this point. But the Nerd Ninja hasn't lost sight of their immediate problems, working on analysis from the Justice League, showing the only cure is indeed to get them home, but in collaboration from Cyborg, there may be a way to slow the demutation.
Well, it's good to see Batman has reached out to some of his more resourceful allies. Doesn't exactly brush off the why not have Dr. Fate or Zatanna magic up a portal question, but it's something, I guess. Though, if you were expecting them to elaborate on how they slow the process of the mutagen wearing off, they don't. Ever.
Though in searching for Shredder, Donnie says he's apparently AWOL for some reason, which I don't know if that's the appropriate term. It stands for away without leave, when someone's gone without permission. MIA would be more appropriate, because whose permission does Donnie think their deadliest enemy is defying? Anyway, Alfred confiscates Mikey's board as they arrive with dinner, and even though Bat says he's fine, there's this cute scene of Michelangelo offering him a slice of pizza with such reverence. It is a delicacy that bridges all men, turtle, and bat. So Bruce tries some, and it meets his approval, despite the possibility that it might have the faint taste of floor.
Ah, good boy, little drooly.
You know, before Flashpoint, there was a time where Alfred quit, and Bruce was largely subsiding himself on delivered pizza. And now it seems he's never had it before in all his travels across the world, which just kind of seems odd. Then again, he does sometimes go without food for the sake of his night job, so there's that angle.
Apparently healed enough to yell at everyone, Raphael is less than amused by how lackadaisical everyone's behaving, given their impending fate, which he again mistakes for death instead of simply returning to non-sentience. However, he immediately suggests they'll end up in cages in the Batcave, so I don't know if it's his anger that's making him speak dramatically and confusing his words, or if it's the writing or editing that's a little mixed up. Anyway, he blames their predicament on Batman, whom he sees as a rich thrill-seeker punching people for kicks, and kicking them for fun. So the cool but rude turtle will look for a way home his own way. Elsewhere, Oroku Saki tells an also impatient Reish that the late Dr. Khan previously detected an anomalous transmission hurtling between worlds, and waited until clarification by Al Ghul's scientists to be certain of what it was before activating their new portal device. Ordering the machine activated, Shredder says what is coming is the ammunition to burn Gotham to the ground. Casey Jones.
If they were detecting Casey this whole time as he was hurtling between worlds. What was that like for him? I mean, was it like some kind of timeless limbo where it might have been instantaneous, or did 5 minutes pass like 5 years? It's not exactly made clear.
Batman finds Raph by the roadside in a hat and trench coat he suddenly has, because that's what the Turtles have worn a lot of times in other media anyway, saying he wants to clarify something for him, promising not to tell his brothers. Raph reluctantly agrees as an alarm sounds at the Batcave, detecting the same signature given off by the Turtles' weapons. There's an energy influx in the Narrows, and the Shellbacks need to get into the city fast. So at the press of a button, Donnie reveals additional Batmobiles. Though the exchange with Alfred almost makes it seem like Donatello knew about them and Pennyworth didn't, I think it's really more about the butler ordering them against what they have in mind. Batman has taken Raphael to Crime Alley, and you know how this goes. The only question is that image we've seen 1,000 times this decade alone a ghostly visual tool by the artists, or a hologram? Probably the former, but if so, why tinted green? Anyway, this wasn't a guilt trip, only so Raph sees Bruce is out fighting the good fight for better reasons than adrenaline rushes. So to prevent families from being destroyed like his was, and vowing to help save the clan Hamato, though he'd like Raph's help. He gets a call from Alfred about the other Turtles' activities, and they're off to work. Said trio have busted through the wall of the warehouse, finding Casey there alone, battle-weary, and his canisters of life-saving mutagen gone. The pure stuff. You wouldn't believe what I had to do to get in the first place.
You wouldn't believe me, so I won't bother with even a quick explanation, so the writer doesn't have to actually explain this plot convenience. Also, where's the portal device?
However, Casey did hear a one-word clue as to where Shredder and the guy in the green cape went. I'll give you 3 guesses what that word is.
Ending this installment of the review on an interestingly ominous note. The prospect of mutated Arkham inmates opens up a lot of possibilities, and Alfred's demeanor around the Turtles was genuinely a lot of fun. That said, there are still conveniences that I think could have been cleared up rather quickly instead of being left laid bare. And if we needed Raph or any of the Turtles to know Batman's tragic backstory, I don't think we needed something as dramatic as a road trip to Crime Alley, especially given how tedious that's become lately. Tune in next week to see if the final 2 issues clear up any of my misgivings or add to them. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.